Distinguished colleagues,
Okay, the chamber is ready for business, please. Distinguished senators, take your seats. The chamber is ready for business. Distinguished senators, please take your seat.
thank you. Thank you, distinguished Whip of the Senate. Distinguished colleagues, let me acknowledge that in the course of close deliberations, we took cognizance of the number of senators that were able to rush down to attend this emergency session. And there are 75 senators in number. 6 of those senators had to fly in from outside the country where they were attending a retreat in order to honor this particular sitting. So to them, I say thank you.
Point of order.
Yes, point of order.
Mr. President, point of order 55, 3, 4, and 5. During a sitting, all senators shall enter and leave the Senate with decorum. 3, every senator, when he or she comes into the chamber, shall take his or her seat and shall at no time stand in any passage or the gateways. Every senator, number 4, shall make obeisance to the chair in passing to or obeisance to the chair from his seat. 5, senators should not cross the floor of the Senate unnecessarily, nor sit in a place allotted to any other senator. 6, senators should not take care not to pass between the chair and any senator who is speaking or between the chair and the mat. This categorically stipulates the behavior of the Senate President of senators who are in this chamber. And I think we should all be orderly. Thank you.
Senator Lingi has just referred to Order 55 of our rules. and he said 55-3. Every senator, when he or she comes into the chamber, shall take his or her seat and shall not at any time stand in any of the passages or gangways. Every senator shall make obeisance to the chair in passing through or obeisance to the chair from his seat. If you are passing the mace, you are expected to bow. You are coming in to the chamber, you are expected to bow to the mace. You can also step into your seat and you are expected to bow to the mace. Every institution has its own rules. Senators shall not cross the floor of the Senate unnecessarily, nor sit in a place allotted to any other senator twice in plenary. Senators shall take care not to pass between the chair and any senator who is speaking, or between the chair and the mace. When the president of the Senate is putting a question, no senator may walk out or across the floor of the chamber. When the president of the Senate is putting a question, no senator may walk out of or across the floor of the chamber. We all contested elections to be senators, and we are bound by the rules of the Senate to be very senatorial. Point of order from Senator Nengi, sustained. The Senate, in a closed session, deliberated on issues bordering on the workings of the Senate in particular and the National Assembly in general. The Senate particularly reviewed the current situation as regards the impending protests set to be slated for tomorrow, the first day of August 2024, and accordingly urges that 1 year is not long enough for the policies being implemented by the current administration of President Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu to yield the desired results. The Senate urges the protesters to give the government more time to address their demands, considering the measures being put in place to ameliorate the situation in the country, such as the National Minimum Wage Act, the sale of crude oil to local refiners in Naira, implementation of the Students' Loans Act, the assent recently granted to the Southeast Development Commission and the Northwest Development Commission, bills passed by the National Assembly to further address development at the grassroots. The Senate, and in fact the entire National Assembly, is willing to legislate on all matters that will bring about succor to Nigerians in general. Is this a true reflection of what transpired in the committee of the whole? Senator.
Mr. President, very distinguished senators of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, we just concluded on the very first business of the day. I announce, therefore, the second business of the day as the presentation of an executive bill standing in my name on the Central Bank of Nigeria CBN Act Amendment Bill 2024, SB 552. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of the Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Central Bank of Nigeria CBN Act Amendment Bill 2024, SB 552, first reading.
Distinguished colleagues, Central Bank of Nigeria CBN Act Amendment Bill 2024, SB 552, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the first order of the day is a motion standing in my name on the rescission and recommittal of the 2024 Appropriation Act Amendment Bill to the Committee of Supply. Mr. President, with your permission, I wish to move the motion for the rescission and recommittal of the 2024 Appropriation Act Amendment Bill to the Committee of Supply. I so move, Mr. President.
Minority Leader.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I second the motion that the Senate resolve into the Committee of Supply to consider the bill. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, the motion has been moved and seconded that we do resolve in the Committee of Supply to reconsider the 2024 amendment of the Appropriation Act. Those in support of the motion as moved, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Take up the seat. Leader of the Senate.
Thank you, Mr. President, sitting as chair, and distinguished colleagues. Mr. Chairman, I stand up first of all to move, pursuant to Order 8 of 3 of our standing rules, that our time for sitting be extended to enable us sit beyond 3 p.m. So that we can conclude what we have on our order paper. There are so many, Mr. President.
Minority Leader.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I rise to second the motion that the time of sitting be moved beyond 3 o'clock to enable the Senate to conclude its matters. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, the motion has been moved and seconded that we do extend the time beyond 3 o'clock to enable the Senate to conclude the matters on the order paper. Those in support of the motion as moved say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Leader of the Senate.
Thank you, Mr. President, and distinguished colleagues. Mr. President, I had earlier moved a motion for the decision and committee of the 2024 Appropriation Act Amendment Bill 2024. And with your permission and the permission of my distinguished colleagues, Mr. President, I just want to shed more light on that motion by saying that the Senate, because that the 2024 Appropriation Act Amendment Bill 2024 was passed by this Senate as well as the House of Representatives, I was forwarded to the clerk to the National Assembly for onward transmission to the President and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria for assent. The Senate is also informed that after critical examination of the bill, the Directorate of Legal Services of the National Assembly observed some fundamental issues.
Leader, we are already in the Committee of Supplies. So just a minute. In line with Order 1B of our rules, is it the view of the Senate that he be allowed to proceed to shed more light on this rescission and re-enactment of the amendment of the 2024 appropriation? Those in support that he should be allowed to proceed, say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. So by permission of the Senate, you can shed more light. Proceed.
Mr. President, sitting as chair, distinguished colleagues, in continuation, I will say the Senate is also informed that after critical examination of the bill, the Directorate of Legal Services of the National Assembly observed some fundamental issues which require fresh legislative action on the following sections, i.e. 1. Long title. 2. Clause 1. 3. Clause 13. 4. Clause 14. And 5. Explanatory memorandum. The Senate, being aware that a technical committee of the Senate, the House of Representatives, and the Directorate of Legal Services met and worked on the bill, and relying on Order 1 subsection B of the Senate Standing Orders, Senate accordingly resolves to rescind its decision on the bill as passed and recommit same to the Committee of Supply for reconsideration and passage. I so move, Mr. President, sitting as chair.
Yes, there's an observation. A report for an act to repeal the Appropriation Act 2024, and reenact, but there's no reenact there. Yes.
What the leader is asking for is to put aside what we did as a Senate last week. Then we come to make what he's talking about now, by correcting the entire thing to be between and reenact the appropriation bill 2024.
That is
now we need to receive
that is the point.
Yeah,
you have just said the word. The word is reenact, but what is written here is enact.
Mr. President, sitting as chair, distinguished colleagues, it's a two-step process. The first step, sir, is to rescind what we did last week. And once that is off the table and the Senate agrees for us to rescind, then we can correct that and then go into the issue of repeal and reenactment, which is another step altogether.
Rescinding what we did is a repeal. It's a repeal. Should first be rescinded, okay? The minority leader. Minority leader, you may wish to second the motion.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I second the motion as moved by the Senate Majority Leader. I so second.
Right, but distinguished colleagues, the motion has been moved and seconded. Those who are in support of the motion say aye. And those against say nay. The ayes have it. Yes, proceed to reenact.
Mr. President, sitting as chair, very distinguished colleagues, the Senate, having rescinded its decision to amend the 2024 Appropriation Act, I now move that the Senate will consider what is christened as the Appropriation Act 2024 Repeal and Reenactment Bill 2024. It's no longer an amendment bill. My motion now is for the Senate to consider the Appropriation Act 2024 Repeal and Reenactment Bill.
Point of order.
Minority leader.
Point of order.
Mr. President, I second the motion as moved by the Majority Leader. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, the motion has been moved that this August Assembly do repeal the 2024 appropriation and reenact same. Those in support of the motion as moved and seconded say aye. Aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Yes, you will proceed. Senate leader. So, and is it no need for argument? Let's take it clause by clause. Distinguished colleagues, there will be need distinguished DSP approach. Distinguished colleagues, for the re-endowment of the 2022 Appropriation Act Bill 2024. Long title on page 1. Those in support say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Number of clauses 3. Those in support say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Interpretation clause schedules as contained therein. Those in support say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Short title clause 14, which is on page 2. Those in support of the short title say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Explanatory memorandum, page 2. Those in support of the explanatory memorandum say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. So the clerk or the leader of the Senate, can we go back to plenary?
Mr. President, sitting as chair, distinguished colleagues, I rise to move that the Senate revert to plenary to enable the chairman to report progress. I so move, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, the minority leader.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I rise to second the motion that the Senate reverts to plenary to enable the chair to report progress. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, the motion has been moved and seconded. Those in support of the motion say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. We revert to plenary for the chair to report progress. Distinguished colleagues, the Senate in the Committee of Supply considered the Appropriation Act 2024 repealed and reenacted and approved as follows. Long title as recommended. Number of clauses, clause 1 as recommended. Clause 13 as recommended. Interpretation, clause nil. Short title, clause 14 as recommended. Schedules as contained therein. Explanatory memorandum as recommended. Is this a true reflection of what transpired in the Committee of Supply? Is this a true reflection of what transpired in the Committee of Supply? Leader of the Senate, may wish to move for the clerk to.
Thank you, Mr. President. Distinguished colleagues. Mr. President, I rise to move that the bill be now read for the third time. I so move.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I rise to support the motion that this bill be read the third time. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, will the Senate approve that this bill be now read a third time? Those in support that the bill be read a third time say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to repeal the Appropriation Act 2024 and reenact the Appropriation Act 2024 to authorize the issue from the Consolidated Revenue Fund of the Federation the total sum of 35 trillion 55 billion 536 million 770,218 naira only, of which 1 trillion 742 billion 786 million 788,150 naira only is for statutory transfers. 8 trillion 270 billion 960 million 606,831 naira only is for debt service. 11 trillion 268 billion 513 million 380,853 naira only is for recurrent non-debt expenditure, while the sum of 13 trillion 773 billion 275 million 994,384 naira only is for contribution to the development fund for capital expenditure for the year ending on the 31st day of December 2024. Third reading.
Distinguished colleagues, a bill for an act to repeal and reenact the Appropriation Act 2024 and to authorize the issue from the Consolidated Revenue Fund of the Federation the total sum of 35 trillion 55 billion 536 million 770,218 naira only, of which 1 trillion 742 billion 786 million 708,150 naira only is for statutory transfers. 8 trillion 270 billion 960 million 606,831 naira only is for debt service. 11 trillion 268 billion 513 million 380,853 naira only is for recurrent non-debt expenditure, while the sum of 13 trillion 773 billion 275 million 994,384 naira only is for contributions to the development fund for capital expenditure for the year ending 31st day of December 2024. Third reading taken. Appropriation Act reenactment. Appropriation reenactment of Appropriation Act 2024 to authorize the issue from the Consolidated Revenue Fund of the Federation of the sum of 35 trillion 55 billion 536 million 770,218 naira only, of which 1,742,788,150 naira only is for statutory transfers. 8,270,960,606,831 naira only is for debt servicing. 11,280,268,530,853 naira only is for recurrent non-debt expenditure, while the sum of 13,733,275,994,384 naira is for contribution to the development fund for capital expenditure for the year ending 31st day of December 2024. Third reading taken and passed. Let me thank my colleagues for their understanding, receiving their decision earlier taken last week, and then of course taking a second look at the 2024 appropriation, repealing the earlier Appropriation Act and reenacting the current one that has just been passed. I thank you for your patience, your sacrifice, your patriotism, and your contribution so far to the nation building. May God grant our request by providing the funds for the development of this country as contained in this Appropriation Act that we have just reenacted. I wish all of us success in enjoying the dividends of democracy. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, second reading of the Central Bank of Nigeria Act Amendment Bill 2024 SB 552. Mr. President, my distinguished colleagues, I move that the Senate do suspend its Rule 78, subsection 1, in order to read the bill a second time. I so move, Mr. President.
Yes, Minority Leader.
Mr. President, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I second the motion ably moved by the majority leader. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, the motion has been moved by the majority leader, seconded by the minority leader, that this Senate will commit the first we suspend our rules to enable us to consider the CBN Amendment Act, C4 Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, to enable us to consider some clauses there. Those in support of the motion say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Leader of the Senate.
Thank you, Mr. President and distinguished colleagues. Mr. President, in moving that the bill be read a second time, I stand before you and my respected colleagues to lead the debate on this bill, which seeks to amend the Central Bank of Nigeria Act to increase the total CBN advances to federal government. The bill was read for the first time in this chamber today. The very essence of this bill, dear colleagues, is to enable the federal government meet its immediate and future obligation due to the government's increasing needs for funds to finance the budget deficits and other expenses. The Central Bank of Nigeria's advances to the federal government are essentially loans that the Central Bank of Nigeria provides to the government to help it meet its financial obligations. These advances are typically short-term and are expected to be repaid by the government. Mr. President, my respected colleagues, the passage and enactment of this amendment into law will, one, provide immediate funds to address budget shortfalls and finance essential government expenditure. Two, will help maintain financial market stability by preventing government default on its obligation. Thirdly, Mr. President and respected colleagues, to inject money into the economy, thereby stimulating economic activity and potentially creating jobs. Number four, to enable the government to support critical sectors like agriculture, health, and infrastructural development. And finally, Mr. President and colleagues, to lower the government borrowing costs by providing cheaper funds than the traditional borrowing method. This amendment is very consequential and it needs the support of all of us. This is to enable the federal government to embark on very important projects that will inflate and rejig the economy, especially the renewable infrastructural development across the country. And Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, may I also add that for the first time in a very long time in our political history, this is the first time that both the executive arm, under His Excellency Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, as well as the legislative arm of this, being this parliament, are passing, just as we just did, budget that can undoubtedly be said to have the capital component being more than the recurrent component of the budget. And Mr. President, this is very significant for us and for our economy. I therefore urge you all to support the passage of this bill. I thank you all.
Senator Abiru.
Thank you, Mr. President, and my distinguished colleagues. My name is Senator Adetokunbo Abiru, and I represent Lagos East Senatorial District. Mr. President and my distinguished colleagues, I rise to support this bill as ably moved by the Senate leader. And I think that what the bill is trying to do is actually just like it detailed out, is to actually provide a backup facility for the finances of the federal government. Now, I must just give a quick background as to how the economy has somehow performed so far this year, based on the review that the Committee on Finance has had with the executive, particularly just last month. Now, at the session, part of what came to light is that in terms of revenue performance, I think that we were made to know that the revenues of the federal government is actually it's actually improving. The performance of the, getting it from the FIRS angle, their performance this year has almost surpassed the total revenue collections for last year. That is one. Equally, the Customs Department too has also reported that they have done, by the half year this year, they have done over 127% of total revenue collections. Why are all of these indices important? They are important to show that the ability of government to continue to fund its operations is actually not in doubt. Just like just like most businesses, even when your revenue streams are very much in tandem with the way you have planned out in the year, there is what is called timing differences, and which is during that. Timing differences means the timing for your revenue receipts, and of course when you incur expenditure, and that is why most businesses will ride on the back of this facility that can be a stopgap. And I think that what this bill is trying to do is actually to create that stopgap. So, and the comfort is that the stopgap that we are looking at now is in the form of the advances that this bill is trying to amend and possibly increase. So, but the comfort is that the ability to repay it as it is stated in the CBN Act before the end of the financial year. And if we look at the revenue streams of government, I think that ability is not in doubt. So for me, I would say that I support this bill as proposed, and I believe that in supporting it, the intention of government will continue to be in tandem with the provisions of Section 38, which is that for all of the advances of this short-term nature, they are also repaid within the financial year. Now, having said all of this, I also think that I should also say that because of the current level of our deficit in the country, I also think that we should moderate even the approach of this increase that we are talking about. It is important that we moderate, because currently what we have is at 5%, and what I am seeing here is about 15%. So I would rather we moderate it to 10% for all the right reasons of physical discipline, and also to be very much in line with what international best practices are. So overall, I support this bill as proposed. I believe that the current operations of the government in terms of revenue acquisition, it has also shown capacity to meet the clear dictate of this provision. I so support Mr. President and my distinguished colleagues. Thank you very much.
Yes. Is there anybody that is opposed to this bill? No, sir. Senator Babangida.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, sitting as chair. I'm Senator Babangida Hussein, representing Jigawa Northwest. Distinguished colleagues, I think, first of all, I like to speak to the effort of this administration in terms of ramping up revenue generation. It's quite commendable. And at the same time, the capital component exceeding the current component of the budget is also worth commending. But however, I want to propose that I like to align myself with Senator Abiru about limiting the scope of the borrowing to 10%, not 15%. Secondly, also, bullet point number 4, I would have suggested that we recouch it to read, borrowed funds shall be committed to critical sectors, because the language is flexible, it can be manipulated. I so submit, Mr. President. Thank you, sir.
Senator Wanada.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. I remain Senator Ahmed Wadada Ali Sarki in Kefi. I represent Nasarawa West Senatorial District. Let me align myself to the presenter and those that have spoken before me. Government is a business, and business comes under both credit and debit. What becomes a problem on the side of debit is the inability to redeem the indebtedness. Now, from the records, it is not in doubt that the government will be able to redeem its indebtedness. I don't want to repeat what my colleagues have spoken about the current, and of course, the level of revenue generation in the economy. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, having said what I have said, I have a different thinking going forward, not on this particular. To reduce the financial engagements or commitments of government in developing our infrastructure, we must not necessarily be subjecting the economy or the system to only ways and means. The capital market is there as a vehicle for government to issue bonds for infrastructural development, which will enable the citizenry save by investing. It is also a borrowing, but a much cheaper borrowing that has a positive angle. By doing that, when you patronize your capital market, you are deepening and growing the capacity of your capital market. And the capital market all over the world is known as a veritable instrument for economic growth and development. So having supported and commended all that I have said, I am introducing a window going forward for tomorrow. We are supposed to be futuristic. As contempt, it's not emotion. Listen, stop distracting me. If you can't talk, I will always talk. Mr. President, you are uncommon, and we have all agreed to be uncommon senators. And what will make us really uncommon is to always look for different ways. We can't continue to be trailing on one path. When we exhaust it, we may not have where to go. But meanwhile, there are also, existing windows. The Nigerian capital market is robust enough. And especially with the recapitalization exercise coming up, with the window for the banks, that will further deepen and grow the Nigerian capital market. So why not going forward tomorrow, instead of limiting ourselves to ways and means, we can as well leverage on the capital market. I so present, Mr. President, and distinguished.
Senator Dangwa, former Accountant General of the Federation, former Governor of Gombe State, now the Distinguished Senator of the Federal Republic.
Thank you, Mr. President. My name is Ibrahim Dakwambo, representing Gombe North. Let me also rise to support the amendment. But in supporting, I will want to make these comments. Number one, that just now we have discussed that the minimum wage is going to be increased, and that is recurrent. The government services are going to be improved. These are recurrent. How capital can be more than recurrent, I don't know. But when we see the numbers, we will talk about those numbers. Two, government revenues are moving in advance. Therefore, it is very important to have some level of borrowing from the central bank. But what matters is that when we borrow, we repay. When we borrow, we repay. And we should put the timing for the repayment. And I support that it will be too uncommon to increase the level of borrowing from 5% to 15%. That will be too wide for government to be very realistic. I support that we increase from 5 to 10% from some of the numbers that I have worked on, which I have. I therefore support that we increase the level of ways and means from 5 to 10%. And I support that this amendment should be done. Thank you, Mr. President.
Yes. Distinguished Senator Shumale.
Thank you, Mr. President. Let me join in commending this proposed amendment. I think it deserves the support of this Senate, and I should be paid to 10%. It's not about being generous to the federal government. It's about recognizing the fact that all over the world there are international best practices. If you were to increase the level to 15%, Nigeria will be on its way to that joke between the Uganda President Idi Amin and the CBA government. When he says, Idi Amin said, go and print more money, and he said, Uganda money will go so most of the time,
my chairman has come to
the macroeconomic issues, there are specific macroeconomic indicators that will take into account including the limit. And therefore, the 10% for me is realistic, it's doable, it's a 100% improvement over the existing laws. And the good thing that I think the president has done, and which under your leadership they are trying to work on proactively, is that unlike the past, where ways and means were done without the backing of the law, outside the framework of the law, we are ensuring that we update the law in a manner that government can act lawfully. Now, the idea of restricting the direction in which government can borrow is to avoid wastages. But it is safer to borrow on behalf of our children if it will be used to build a rail line, if it will be used to build basic infrastructure, so that education, highways, etc., etc. But if you borrow to pay salary, it's like a father borrowing to feed. And after 2 days toilet, it's over. But if a father borrows to build a house and he dies, the children can inherit the debt as well as the house that have been inherited. So, Mr. President, you know I don't like to read long speeches. And I thank you for your patience. I support this bill as argued eloquently by Abiru, who himself is not just a seasoned banker, basic macroeconomic issues. I think
Thank you. The other thing is that you said the father will go to toilet twice and the mother will finish. So on that one, I rule you out of father. The father is not going to toilet.
Thank you, Mr. President. Very distinguished colleague. Let me lend my voice also to commend the idea and the ideology behind this amendment the central bank is sorting for. Mr. President, this is the first time that the president is coming out clean as far as ways and means is concerned. I can vividly recollect during the 9th Senate when a bill was introduced regarding this particular ways and means. It was a lot of confusion as to how do we come about these figures. A lot of explanation, a lot of back and forth that drove to this new administration. We want to commend this administration who have exited us from the ways and means we incurred during the last administration. Now coming by way of bill, introducing to us an amendment of this sort, that there is need for us to increase the headroom from 5 to 10%. It's the right step in the right direction to 15%. But I agree with my colleague who have said that it should not be more than 10%. Mr. President, this funding is like a funding gap, and we are borrowing within the same government. And whenever there is a shortfall, our last resort to the Central Bank of Nigeria should be able to guide what the interest rate should be. And according to Senator Adam Oshiomhole, this particular borrowing is for infrastructure, nothing more. It can't be for recurrent expenditure. And I want to draw a caution that our Committee on Banking and Other Financial Institutions will be read alert, because it is expected that this borrowing, once this money is borrowed, with the improved revenue that we currently have as we speak, the revenue generated to date is over 9 trillion naira. We must be ready to pay this money regularly. Minimum, in between borrowing should not be more than 3 months, so that we don't have this money accumulated, that at the end of the day we start running at this scatter. That is the duty of the Committee on Banking and Other Financial Institutions, to monitor from time to time how much was borrowed, what it was used for, and what is the resultant effect on the GDP of our country. So I want to agree with this bill, and I'm supporting it in its entirety, but to draw that note of caution that we must monitor. That is only for infrastructure and infrastructure. I so submit, Mr. President.
I think the Senator Adam Oshiomhole had actually settled the issue that if we are borrowing, we should not borrow just for the current expenses. We shouldn't borrow to go and put something in consumption. That we should borrow to put something that legacy projects for the future, so that our children can inherit something. Otherwise, it will have no meaning. And you also said that what is here is 15%, and you would like it to be reduced to 10%. Am I right? And everybody seems to agree with it. I don't think there's anybody that will go to this bill. We will extend and allow this bill to be read a second time. Those in support say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. So proceed.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to amend the Central Bank of Nigeria Act, Cap C4, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, to increase the total advances of the Central Bank of Nigeria to the federal government from 5% to a maximum of 15%, and for other matters connected thereto, 2024. Second reading.
Distinguished colleagues, a bill for an act to amend the Central Bank of Nigeria's Act, Cap C4, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, to increase the total advances of the Central Bank of Nigeria to the federal government from 5%, well, here we set a maximum of 15%, and for other matters connected thereto, 2024. Second reading taken. Distinguished colleagues, this bill is referred to the Committee of the Whole in line with Senate Rule 84 for further consideration.
Mr. President, very distinguished senators, I rise to move that the Senate now go into the Committee of the Whole in order to consider this bill. Yes. Thank you. Well, I actually move for the suspension of our Rule 78(1). That was done earlier, but Mr. President, may I further move that we suspend Senate Rule 84. Senate Rule 84. I had earlier moved for the suspension of Rule 78(1) to allow for second reading. May I now at this time apply for the suspension of Senate Rule 84 of our standing orders 2023 as amended, that the Senate do resolve at this time to the Committee of the Whole for the clause-by-clause consideration of the bill. Mr. President and distinguished colleagues, I so move.
Yes, the minority leader.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I rise to second the motion as ably moved by the Senate Majority Leader. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, the motions have been moved that we suspend our rules, and then secondly that we move into the Committee of the Whole to consider the bill clause by clause. Those in support of the two motions say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Distinguished colleagues, clause 1, those in support of retaining clause 1 say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Clause 2, the amendment. No, somebody has to amend now. Yes, Olare.
Mr. President, esteemed colleagues, my name is Kaboludin Olalido. I represent Osunwet Central District. I like to move an amendment to section 2
Section 38.
38 years.
22.
As substituting the word 5%. Represent change the word 15% to 10%.
10%. Yes. Yes, Senator. Senator Karimi.
15%.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I rise to second the amendment as moved by the Senate Deputy Minority Leader that the word 15% be changed to 10%.
Distinguished colleagues, the motion has been moved that section 30 years up to be changed from 5% and that we should substitute the word instead of 5% or 15%, we should substitute with 10%. Those in support that this should be 10% say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. So, clerk, please note 10%. Clause 3. Yes, additional clause.
Additional clause, Mr. Chairman, Section 38 of the Principal Act is amended in additional clause 3. The borrowing should only be for capital expenditure. Let me call. Mr. Chairman, you recall every speaker that has spoken today has enumerated the need for this borrowing to be on capital expenditure. What happened in the past? If the chair listens to me, there is no clause like this that gives the executive what do you do? Let me land.
No, we are not arguing again. You've just made your amendment that you want to.
No, I'm not landed.
No.
Can you allow me to land? What gave the former regime?
No. What you are doing now is you are opening debate.
No. Additional clause. I said additional clause.
Okay. Additional clause is what gave the former regime. Go on.
Additional clause is that this borrowing should be for capital expenditure only. That is
exactly. Is there any second that yes, there was a president?
Mr. Chairman, Senator Wimby is a very experienced in this state. The fact is that we want to get this passed and the House has finished. And they're even got it done some proceedings. Anything we do here outside what they've done will in fact we have to come back again. So please, I appeal that we should allow it to be the way it is so that we go in line with what the House has done. Yes. So I appeal. Yeah, we're finished. We are working on the same page.
Okay. This Senator Dengi, you can see why I was hesitant to allow you to add something, but let me explain. I think that aspect must be re-emphasized for our committee. We are doing this on the basis that our committee on banking and the committee on finance will monitor to be sure that whatever is borrowed is used for capital projects. Well, we are saying that we would like that. But at least majority of what is borrowed should be for capital project. So we will not put it here to
information, Mr. President. Information, just small information.
Yes.
Just information.
We don't want to a kind of expanded debate. I think living like this is better because there could be security issues. You know, we could, God forbid, we could be attacked, we could be a threat to our sovereignty, and there could be the need to put life forward to do with that immediately, which would be maybe recurrent in nature. So we should not kind of tighten the space for the government. We're a nation, very big nation, the most, the biggest, black country in the world. the largest in Africa. So we should allow government to have that latitude. So let's not tighten the whole thing. But the only thing is to strengthen our oversight. Strengthen our oversight as explained by the President and also the Chairman Banking Committee. So let's allow it to remain and then move on so that we go in the same wavelength with the House of Representatives. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President.
Mr. President, let us understand this thing very well. This thing is not borrowing. It is an advance that the central bank grants to the federal government when it is short of revenue while implementing its program, which is supposed to be retired within the financial year. So there is no new borrowing that we are talking about. It's an advance that is given, short-term advance that is given to government for implementation of existing projects. So you cannot tie, the only thing that we said about capital projects is that, this facility should just be granted to cover, so that capital project will not stop, because of shortness of revenue. That's all. But the major issue is that it is not any new borrowing. It's an advance that is given to government to implement an existing budget. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, let me say that it is good to be experienced. The distinguished Senator Yahya has put more light on it, that this is not actually borrowing, that this is just advances from the Central Bank of Nigeria, which we own, to the federal government of Nigeria for the purpose of augmenting any shortfall. Are we borrowing from Afrexim? We are not borrowing from outside Nigeria now. We get advances, whether you call it borrowing or advances, it doesn't matter. The major thing is those in support of clause 3 say aye, those against say nay. The ayes have it. Yeah, I know.
Advance is borrowing.
Explanatory memorandum as written in the bill. Those in support of the explanatory memorandum say aye, those against say nay. The ayes have it. Yes. Senate Leader, we want to go back to the plenary.
Mr. President, sitting as chair, distinguished colleagues, I rise to move that the Senate revert to plenary to enable the chairman of all progress. I so move.
Yes, Minority Leader.
Mr. President, sitting as chair, I support the motion that the Senate reverse to plenary to enable the chair upon progress. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, a motion has been moved and seconded that the chair refers to plenary to report progress. Those in support of the motion say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. So we revert to plenary. The Senate in the Committee of the Whole considered the Central Bank of Nigeria's CBN Act Amendment Bill 2034 and approved as follows. Long title as recommended. Number of clauses, clause 1 as recommended. Clause 2 as amended. Interpretation clause nil. Short title clause 3 as recommended. Explanatory memorandum as recommended. Is it a true reflection of what transpired in the Committee of the Whole? Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, I rise to move that the bill be now read the third time. I so move, Mr. President.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I second the motion that the bill be read the third time. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, the motion has been moved and seconded that this bill be now considered for third reading. Those in support that the bill be now read third time say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to amend the Central Bank of Nigeria Act, Cap C4, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, to increase the total advances of the Central Bank of Nigeria to the federal government from 5% to a maximum of 10%, and for other matters connected thereto, 2024. Third reading.
Distinguished colleagues, a bill for an act to amend the Central Bank of Nigeria Act, Cap C4, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, to increase the total advances of the Central Bank of Nigeria to the federal government from 5% to a maximum of 10%, and for other matters connected to 2024. Third reading taken. Distinguished colleagues, a bill for an act to amend the Central Bank of Nigeria Act, Cap C4, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, to increase the total advances of the Central Bank of Nigeria to the federal government of Nigeria from 5% to a maximum of 10%, and for other matters connected thereto 2024. Third reading taken and passed. Let me thank all my colleagues for their contributions and again, patriotic zeal. Yes, it's been very painstaking and time consuming, but I think doing a good thing is worth our while, because we can't rush into a bill of this nature without considering the pros and cons and looking at the implications, including inflation and of course also the workability of government. Again, this is taken for the purpose of ensuring that government moves smoothly and that we do everything to support the administration to contribute and move the nation forward in all spheres. So this patriotic bill that we have passed today is also another major impetus to urge Nigerians to shun any act of violence and to shun the speculations that government is not doing anything. Government is doing a lot. And we in the parliament are also doing a lot. And we want to continue to do a lot for them in order to ensure that we ameliorate the situation, and then in the long term, we end the suffering of Nigerians and we bring the country back to a trajectory of prosperity. I hope even this bill also has passed by this National Assembly today to help to assuage the feelings of those who may not know that government is ready to do anything to assist them. So I thank you for your secretarial contributions and your patriotic disposition. Thank you. Distinguished colleagues, in order to enable us consider the votes and proceedings of today, it will be good for us to adjourn for about 30 minutes and come back by 4:30. So from there, we approve the votes and proceedings, and thereafter we can proceed on our long vacation. So I thank you. So accordingly, this Senate is adjourned to 4:30 p.m. of today.